thinking that it was a negative for you. What kind of provoked that thought? Was there any incident per se, or was that a mindset um, change that you had, or was there any kind of failure that brought that about? I don't know. So that's the question. How did you realize that burning desire to do well was not a plus?
So I could give a bit of a longer-winded answer to this. And this I actually finally get to what you want out of this. So I think when I was early on at university, so I was never all that, bright in high school. Like it was fine. I wasn't, but was never crash hot or anything like that. But I kind of tasted a little bit of success early on at university, and I kind of got this idea that, oh, you know what, maybe I can actually do this. And that belief kind of drove me forward. And then I don't exactly know where it came from. Maybe I just bought into the stories that, society tells us to buy into. But I had this sense of wanting to be remembered and to leave a legacy for the work that I've done. And I remember like extremely distinctly, it was just this desire to leave something behind, to achieve something. And it wasn't necessarily like a selfish thing. It was, I wanted to make the world a better place, but I wanted to be remembered for it. So making the world a better place wasn't enough, but the need to be remembered was just so, I don't want to say all consuming, but it was definitely the forefront of the motivation. Like that was the order. It was be remembered and then help. It wasn't the other way around. And I went on this trip to Bihar through a university program, where, long story short, it was about, it was a bit like empathy-based innovation. So it was using this design thinking process that a lot of startups used to kind of come up with novel solutions to problems that we would identify in the village. And the first step of that design thinking process is empathy. And the organizer of this program believed that was the most important step, because once you actually fundamentally understand what the problem is that the person is facing, the solution should be a lot easier to kind of come by. Anyway, that's kind of aside the point. On this trip, I guess it was just, it was jarring to really see the lives that people live. Like I've come to India plenty of times. Like India is not a culture shock to me by any means. And like, I'd like to think I knew what, life in villages in India is actually like. But when you go there and actually spend time and talk to people and really understand like the day-to-day struggles, it's a perspective check. It's a massive reality check. And you can't be left feeling anything but gratitude for the life that you have. And it's not that I didn't feel it already, but this just completely drove me home, like just drove home how lucky I have been, which is exactly why I try and keep it at the forefront every day of how lucky you are. And spending time there, I think it was a complete reevaluation of the priorities and what the meaning of life is and what it means to live a good life. And I think in answering those questions, I realized that leaving a legacy behind and chasing some false ideal and like that's not the right way to be spending your energies. And yeah, the ambition definitely changed to duty, but also this sense of just enjoying the life that I actually have. So it's not about chasing something else. Like I have everything I need to live a good and fulfilling life right here. So I may as well just lean into the moment and enjoy it. But balancing that at the same time with this sense of duty to help others achieve the same sort of flourishing. So, yeah.
This is beautiful. While you mentioned the story which you call, okay, let's leave that aside, I liked one part of that extremely well enough to bring that into the conversation. the first step of the course was empathy. And I think it's a very important aspect to bring in. Since the topic is ambition and we've been having a freewheeling talk, I think it is very nicely covering different aspects of how ambition or how a personal journey uh, affects the world and is in turn affected by the world as well. Um, how important is it to bring in this aspect at as young age as possible? I'll give you a very quick example. I think I've spoken about this in earlier podcasts also. The idea of starting the values workshop was in December last year. I felt that I used to have these kind of conversations with friends most of the time, like we are having right now, and a lot of them seem to benefit from it. And I felt that I was gifted with a mind. I don't use the luck factor so much in my head, but yeah, it's the same sense of gratitude I have, that I've been gifted with a mind that likes conversations like these, that tends to help people think better. But I was not doing justice because of all the things in the world. I was an advertising writer. I am an advertising writer. So all I am doing is buy this and buy that and charge you for it. Um, I have a bit of principles in place. There are certain things that I don't work on, certain brands or certain issues that harm the society. I do not pick up those kind of jobs. But that is again because I am in a position to do so. I do well otherwise. It's never come to the fact. It did actually come to a point where I was doing some work which was working against the society as what I felt at that point of time, but I had no other job on hand. So that was also a very, very difficult time to take a call. To cut a long story short, I quit the job and just allowed life to take a decision at that time for me. Luckily, I found my bearings soon enough. So my question to you is: there is ambition, there is a constant sense of change of perspective that keeps happening. My own journey, the biggest kick that I wanted was to have clients from abroad on an individual level, where I would have the satisfaction of uh, meeting the needs of clients who belong to a Western society for a job that I do, which I personally consider is very Western in nature. Advertising is very uh, sophisticated uh, in my point of view. So my journey has shown me that at times the goalposts keep shifting. I do not know how I can uh, explain, but uh, it covers all these points that you've made, and not that one has not failed. And it still continues because ambition, there's no end to ambition. When I thought about this in December, I spent 3 4 months studying up, and it got so serious that I lost hope. I said, this is too heavy a topic. I do not know how can I engage the world into something like this. Every attempt I took till, I think, till the 1st of April, uh, failed in some manner or the other. That included the COVID, that included the lockdown, something or the other. Once I brought myself up, oh no, I'm going to do this. So it just didn't fall in place. The only thing that I knew is that April 1st, I will start something. I had no clue what I'll start. But this holistic point of view, that I have a mindset that will work towards this and something will come up. So I took my first steps as an experiment on the 1st of April, and then for the next 2 weeks, some experiments which again flopped. But by then, I think something else opened up, which was closer to what I was doing, which is something that Anand and you've been speaking about. The reason why I've been bringing this subject up is that I'm a writer, so I decided to do a story a day on Facebook. I just started a page, got my friends to like and subscribe, and I just started putting up stories, a story daily. And somewhere loosely, I wanted to start this kind of podcast. Why am I bringing this up? Till date, if you were to ask me, do I know what am I doing? I have no clue. And the intent to do well is what I place my trust in. And the ambition is obviously to get people to speak, and it is exactly opposite of what I wanted as a youngster, is to be very well known and, oh, I am such a good guy and I think so much for the world and I'm going to contribute. On the contrary, right now I just want to escape this whole thing. You want to be out of it and say, okay, this cause is working, and the cause itself is, so it's a very beautiful ambition that is arising. I cannot say that I am responsible for it. It just has, the journey is just taken over completely. This I wanted to share because it gave me a context to see that I had certain thoughts like you both have uh, around 15, 17, 20 years back. But I was a lot more ignorant and foolish about my my viewpoint. I wanted to emphasize that they should work and they should work in the manner that I thought. So one last question to both of you. Uh, Utkarsh did mention that there was a life-changing event when he came to India and saw for himself the challenges that people face on a daily basis. Anant, you've lived in India and been in London for a while now. Has there been any point for you which you remember which has made you think about being socially relevant while having your own ambitions in mind? Is there anything like that?
Mm, Probably not as defining of an event as Utkarsh spoke to us about, but I believe that this responsibility to be socially relevant, it I can honestly say it did not exist before I came to college to Xavier's. In school, what was promoted was a highly individualistic and competitive outlook, but I just say the general experience of the ethos that Xavier's promoted, in that Xavier's made it compulsory for us to engage in around 60 hours of community service by giving back to the community. This is compulsory in Xavier's. You don't get your degree unless you finish these 60 hours. So although it was enforced and it was involuntary and we all were inconvenienced at the start, but now when I look back at it, it gave me a perspective on life that was desperately needed. And I think that general environment of giving back aided me. Yeah.
Oh, lovely. Um, we are almost to the end of our talk. What I started with and what I envisioned this talk would be about. This has been a completely different kind of chat. We started with talking about the role of ambition in being successful. We are ending on a note where we are, both of you have shared uh, spending time with the have-nots, and which has refined your sense of duty and responsibility, and uh, dare I say it, the sense of a new being within who you were earlier compared to what you were earlier. I think that's a very interesting perspective with which we can uh, leave the audience with. You want to have any last words, Anant, Utkarsh?
No, thank you for giving us a chance to talk today. It's been great.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'll see you around. Uh, have a good time. Bye.
See you.
Bye.
Bye.